Well, hi, everybody. I'm Dale from the Precept classes in Coleman, and I thank you for continuing on in our pursuit of understanding what the Lord is saying. We are in video number 10 of lesson 1 of the Passing the Mantle course. We've only got one more video. We'll be done with lesson 1, and I'm hoping the rest of them will be shorter. But we're doing these things in short little 3 or 4 minute segments where we can spend a little time and meditate upon it, particularly with this account today. I encourage you to read the passage first. Read it. And if you don't have time, just read the passage and come back to the video. Pause it right now. Come back some other time. But it's far more important for you to read the Word of God and ask the Lord, show me what your truth is. Then to listen to what I have to say about it, okay? And so this passage is amazing. I'm going to run through it very, very quickly. So do make sure that you read the passage. And we see here that the Shunammite woman's son was now grown and he's maturing. In this passage, he's called a child, he's called a lad, it says that he's grown. So he's probably right around the age of 12 or 13 or 14 or something like that, maybe even a little younger than that. He was old enough to go with his father out to the reapers, which he did. While he was out there, all of a sudden he says, my head, something happened to him. So father sends him back to the mother. Mothers do what mothers do. She holds him in her lap and he dies about noontime. It's interesting that the Lord gives us all these little details. And so when he died, she takes him upstairs and lays him on the bed of the man of God, shuts the door, and goes out. She knew what she had to do. And I want you to watch how she does this, okay? She goes to her husband and calls her husband and says, hey, will you please get me a servant and get me a donkey? I need to run and see the man of God. His response, like most men, he says, why? It's not a new moon or Sabbath. And I didn't quite understand what that meant until someone in class mentioned, and I think this is the solution. He's saying this, why are you going to see the man of God today? It's not Sunday. It's not Wednesday night. It's not church day. Why are you going to go see him today? And she just looks at her husband and says, it will be well. Now, I don't know if she told the husband about the death. The scripture doesn't tell us. And from what you see, it doesn't appear that she tells him that their son had just died. But she says this phrase, it is well. All will be well. And we see this throughout 2 Kings. So pay attention to that little phrase, okay? So she goes, she tells the servant, hey, drive hard. Don't you slow down for me unless I tell you to. She comes to the man of God and finds him at Mount Carmel. The man of God sees her from a distance. And when he sees her coming, he looks at his servant and says, hey, that's that Shunammite woman. Go down there and see if all is well, there's that phrase, with her, her husband, and her child. So the servant does exactly that. He runs down the mountain and intercepts the woman and says, is everything okay with you, your husband, child? She says, all is well. Her child is dead. But she says all is well because she knew that she had to see the man of God. She came to the man of God, gets to him, grabs a hold of his feet. Well, immediately the servant sought to push her away. But the man of God, Elijah, looked and said, wait a minute, leave her alone. And this is really interesting. He says, for her soul is troubled within her. And the Lord has hidden it from me and not told me. You know, too often we think these prophets knew everything and they had all insight. And particularly today when someone moves within the spiritual gift of prophesying or prophecy, we think, oh, they have to know everything. You see right here that the Lord had hidden something. So Elijah commanded his servant, says, here's what I want you to do. Take my staff and go and lay it on the lad's face. And I don't know if this was to confirm the death, which I don't think so. I think it was probably to heal him and to take care of the matter. But the woman would not leave without the man of God. She said, no, I'm going to stay here with you. I am not going to go. And so he relented and they all went. So the servant runs ahead, comes back and confirms the status of the child. Well, Elijah gets there and enters in and finds out that the child is true. He is dead. And I want you to see what he does. He comes in and he enters the house and he shuts the door behind the two of them. So it must have been the mom and Elijah. And he prayed to the Lord. He goes up and he lays on the child, just like Elijah had done, mouth to mouth, eye to eye. He stretches out upon him, and the child's flesh becomes warm. But then the man of God gets up and goes back downstairs and walks through the house one more time, and then goes back up, stretches himself on the child. The child sneezes 7 times, and he wakes up alive. A lot of curious things right here. But the bottom line is this, that Elisha was seeking the Lord, and he was trusting the Lord, and he was being obedient in what the Lord told him to do. Why did he go back down and walk through the house? Why did he pray when he came in? I don't know. I'm thinking this might have been a demonic attack that sought this child's life and came against this child and was trying to take it. And so when Elijah goes upstairs and he lays upon the child, becomes warm, he realized, wait a minute, there's more going on right here. We are in a spiritual battle. So he goes down and he walks through that house one more time in the name of the Most High God, be gone. I don't know, but he does something right here. The child sneezing 7 times is significant, particularly within that culture, because they believed that if somebody sneezed 7 times, it was affirmation and confirmation that what just occurred was of God. So the child opens his eyes and he's alive. Elisha says, "Hey, go get the woman." She comes in and he says, "Take up your son." And she bows down to the ground before him, takes up her son, and walks out. Now, let's just close with these questions. I want you to meditate upon these things. Are we as persistent in the pursuit of the Lord as the woman was in seeing the man of God? See, that's the picture for us, to pursue, to press into God, to press into God, even when other people are wondering what's happening, even when somebody's trying to help, and that kind of good stuff, pressing into the Lord. Do we trust in God as she did? Do we truly know that all is well, even when faced with death and with crisis? Or do we trust in other relationships rather than God? And what I mean by that is, she went right past her husband. She went right past the servant of the man of God to the man of God. And we're to do that likewise. I think we're to pursue and we're to pursue and we're to go to God himself. And so meditate on these things, think upon them. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.